Hello. I am back from large popular annual furry convention and I would like to talk about it, but I'm gonna wait until more people show up to do that because obviously my audience is pretty tiny. And also, I think I'm dealing with con crud because my throat is scratchy, but I otherwise feel fine, which is a little weird. But anyway, let me remember where the hell Rosetta Town is. Somewhere vaguely to the south. Alright, so FWA, finally. I know when to throw in the towel and to just start talking. I know my audience is tiny. Not helped by the fact that I haven't been streaming for a little bit. Anyway, so it was last week. It was just about a week ago now, actually. It started on Thursday the 8th. And the last day was Sunday the 11th. So I drove over on Thursday, and the drive itself was uneventful. I had to stop once to use the restroom, and I realized when I had stopped and like used the restroom and got some snacks for the road that I had forgotten a few things. So I tend to forget things on on long car trips, unfortunately. And I realized the things that I had forgotten in order of increasing importance. So I was planning on making like a few sandwiches to bring with me, so I wouldn't have to worry about like getting breakfast in the morning. But that worked out fine anyway, because it turns out my motel room didn't have a mini fridge, which I was expecting it to, because I vaguely remember my room having a mini fridge last year, and I stayed at the same place. But that turned out fine. I just had to spend a little bit more on food than I was planning to. And then I realized that I forgot my shoulder bag, which I was going to use to carry all my stuff. So I had to double up. I had to like slum it by carrying everything around in like doubled up plastic bags, which was a lot more annoying. Doable, but annoying. And then I realized right around the time I was stuck in Atlanta traffic for almost a full hour because I didn't leave as early as I should have, so I had been saving up like cash for this trip, so I wouldn't have to rely on my credit card or my debit card so much. And I had been keeping that cash in an envelope, specifically labeled FWA money, so I could remember how important it was. But I forgot, and it shames me to admit this, but I forgot that money at home. Which is not... I realize that's not ideal. I shouldn't be forgetting things that are that important. I did panic initially, but I realized I had an extremely easy solution. I asked my roommate, I asked one of my roommates to just deposit that money in an ATM and then send it to me through Cash App, and he did that, and everything was fixed. So like, I still ended up having money for the con, just not in the form that I would have liked, and that's fine. That's all fine. So I got to my motel and I unpacked, and then I tried to go straight to the con from there, but I couldn't. Because my car picked the absolute worst time for the battery to die, unfortunately. I didn't know that was the problem at first. I don't know a whole lot about cars. I suspected that it was the problem, but I wasn't sure. So like I went to eat. Turns out there's like a Denny's that was like a 5-minute walk from my motel. So I went there, and then I came back and charged my phone a little bit and called a friend to catch up because I hadn't talked to them in a little while. After I did all that, I tried cranking it again. Obviously it didn't work because as I knew by the next day, the battery was dead and I wasn't able to get anywhere. So by this point, the day was nearly over, and there wasn't going to be much left at the con to get to, even if Theo! Hello! Good to see you. You're just in time for me to start talking about FWA. Woo! Hello. I was all prepared to talk about this to no one, and then, edit together a YouTube video that's just the relevant bits and upload that later. And I'm still gonna do that, but now I'm actually talking to somebody, so that's nice. Alright, so, long story short, after I got to my motel, I realized that my car wouldn't start. No, I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather. I hope you feel better soon, buddy. I appreciate you listening. But, yeah, I was pretty bummed. at this point that essentially my whole first day at the con was wasted and I didn't get to do anything or see any of my friends, so I decided to do something else. And I was planning on doing this anyway, but I suspect we're about to be in the middle of a cutscene. So anyway, being faced with the possibility of rotting in my motel room for the next few hours, I didn't want to do that. So instead, I took an Uber to a place called Gangnam Sauna, and it's for those of you who aren't aware, it's a Korean spa that's like 5 minutes away from where my motel was, and it's a really nice place. I found it last year, actually, when I went to FWA in 2024. I found it kind of by accident, and I found some unexpected gender euphoria there as well. So when I went to pay for my sauna business, the guy at the counter, he was an old man. I'm assuming that he was the owner. He was kind of confused. I assume he looked at me and saw like my long hair and my painted nails, and then he looked at my driver's license and he saw my feminine first and middle names. But then he looked and saw the M gender marker on that license plate and heard my masculine voice, and he got kind of confused as to who he was talking to. So he was like, "I'm sorry, are you using the men's section or the women's section?" Which that was strangely flattering. You know what I mean? Like, I know I don't really pass, so I'll take that. I'll take what victories I can get. Oh, hi Kelif. You're just in time to hear me talk about my FWA trip. There we go. That's how you solve this puzzle. So anyway, I went back to the men's section of the spa because I know that physically speaking, I don't pass for a cisgender woman. Read into that however you will. But I wasn't there to like cause trouble, obviously. I just wanted to relax. And again, that place is really nice. It has multiple different steam rooms, and it has a hot tub and a cold tub. Not like freezing, but like slightly colder than lukewarm, for if you want to relax after all the warmth of the other places and stuff, and like multiple rows of showers and things. So I just chilled there for about 3 hours and did absolutely nothing. I used the steam rooms, I used the hot tub. It was very, very nice. Then I took an Uber back to the motel, and while I was waiting for that, I saw a really cute cat just like stroll up super confidently to the front entrance, so I assumed that it belonged to the owners of the place. So sadly, Thursday was kind of a bust, but at least it ended nice. And what is this? Thankfully, Friday turned out a little better. I had to take an Uber there to the convention, obviously, because my car wasn't working at this point. And as soon as I got there, I went to go, get registered. And it turns out that they were doing some like renovation work on the same level that registration was happening, so I couldn't just go down there directly. We had to like take this really long circuitous path like all the way around the building to a separate entrance to get to the registration line. But once we got there, we got registered like super quick. It was like maybe a 20-minute wait. It wasn't a long wait at all, and which was nice. And after we got registered, they handed everybody like these really cool looking like sticker books and also a pack of like trading cards, neither of which I was expecting. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. I didn't participate because that was like my first furry convention ever, and I was more focused on seeing the sights, I guess. So after I got registered, I went to a panel. I went to an art panel called The Art of Future Punk, and it was being held by Jonathan Verduncan and Sasha R. Jones. They're two artists that I greatly admire, and they were guests of honor at the con this year, and they were like responsible for like designing like the theme this year, essentially. So like they didn't do all the art assets, but like they did like all the concepts and stuff, and it was really cool to hear them talk about like their thought processes and their inspirations and all that good stuff. They answered some questions, and that was a pretty cool panel. Yeah, also, I talked to Jonathan last year, actually. I was spending too much money at the dealer's den, and I bought a few prints from them, and I got to tell them that like I have a mouse pad that they sell on their website that's like It has some really cool art of like a hyena lounging in like a cyberpunk sort of setting. I got to tell them that that was like basically the first furry thing that I bought, and they said that was very flattering. Yeah, they're super cool. After that, I went to the food court, which is massive, like puts a mall to shame sized food court, and I got bulgogi, which is like Korean street food that was really good. Hell yeah! Shout out to the FWA food court. I love that thing. It's so good. Okay, so after I went and got food, I went to the arcade that was over in the Hilton, and I wandered around that for a little while. I like to just people watch at the arcade. It's fun watching other people play games, she said, while streaming video games on the internet. And then after that, I went to another panel. It was a Q&A panel with Jonah Scott and Ben Diskin. They're two pretty famous voice actors. Specifically, they're both on Beastars. Jonah Scott voices Legoshi, and Ben Diskin voices Jack. So they did a Q&A and answered questions about like their career and about working on Beastars, and sharing like fun anecdotes and stuff. And actually, right at the start, Jonah Scott walked in wearing like a Legoshi fursuit head, and the crowd went nuts, and it was very funny. He didn't wear it for very long. I think I messed this puzzle up. He didn't wear it for very long, but that was still kind of a power move, you know what I mean? It was very good. So after that, I went back to the arcade, and I caught the tail end of like a speedrun race. There's a speedrun event called Fastest Furs that they seemingly only like put on at conventions or other places. I don't know too much about it, but it's kind of like a GDQ thing, if I had to explain it poorly. And anyway, I caught like the tail end of a speedrun race that they were doing of the Final Fantasy X HD Remaster, which was fun. I just got to chill out for like a couple hours watching people play an RPG really fast. And I learned about a skip that I didn't realize was in that game. There's a way you can skip the Mushroom Rock Road section, for those of you who are familiar with that game, by like going up to an invisible barrier and like letting an NPC nudge you past it, essentially. And it's like really finicky, but also really cool. But anyway, I watched that, and the race was like surprisingly close. They were like one phase of the final boss apart when it finally finished. It was neck and neck for a while there. After the speedrun race, I went and watched a concert being put on by Red Means Recording. He's a furry musician. Is a fairly popular YouTube presence for that sort of thing, I think. He was another of the guests of honor at the con, and oh man, that was such a fun concert. He reached out to a bunch of other furry musicians and asked them to send him stems of like some of their songs, and he like took those and remixed them and made it into like one huge, long, unbroken medley sort of deal. And that was awesome. I loved that. Very, very cool to see and hear. So let's see. After that concert, I went and hung out with a couple friends of mine, Arte and Bawleon. They're good friends, and they live in the same town I do. And I talked to them, hung out in their hotel room for a little bit, and they offered to help me with my car troubles, which was very nice of them, especially since Arte like used to be a mechanic. So she knows like more about cars and stuff than I do, and could help me properly diagnose the problem. And that's pretty much what I did. As soon as Saturday started, I went to eat breakfast, and then I took an anxiety nap basically, and I charged my phone, and I waited for them to get there to my motel. And when they finally did, we went down to an AutoZone to get a new battery and like a toolkit to help install it. And because Arte used to work at an AutoZone, she still had like, I think it was essentially like an employee membership card, which was nice, so I was able to get a pretty good discount on that. And then went back to my motel room and installed the battery, and lo and behold, my car was working just fine now, which was nice. So after that whole ordeal and not having my car for literally half the convention, I was finally able to drive there on my own, which felt unexpectedly pretty nice. Don't take your car for granted, y'all. You might not always have reliable access to it. All right, so because of my my car business, I got to the con on Saturday around like 3-ish, so I had already missed some things, but that was okay. I basically immediately went to the arcade and I watched the remainder of like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tournament, and that was fun. It made me want to pick up the game, even though I'm terrible at I'm pretty bad at fighting games in general. I was okay at Smash, but I haven't played it in like literally years, so have that going against me. But anyway, the winner of the tournament ended up being this player named Scoops, and I saw them compete in another tournament last year. They're like one of the top players from Ohio, to my understanding, and they cleaned up, of course. They played as a Mii brawler, customized to look like them wearing a catsuit, which was funny, and they ended up winning the whole thing. And I filmed the last match, but as it was going on, I was getting increasingly hyped, and I was unknowingly like pointing the camera away and getting a progressively worse view, so that by the time the match was over, I was only looking at like the bottom left corner of the projector screen, and I wasn't even aware of that. But I still have that video. I'm not going to delete it just because I filmed it poorly. But that was fun to watch. Pretty much directly after that, I hung around because there was another tournament going on, this time of Tekken 8, and I watched that for a little bit. And while I was, Arte came by and we talked, and it turns out that a friend of hers was competing. He was playing. What's the name of the girl with the dark demon arm? Is it like Zafina or something like that? He was playing with her at first, but then he switched over to Panda. Specifically, he switched over to Panda wearing a really cute Bumblebee costume, and he proceeded to wreck shop as Panda, which was very funny. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for the whole tournament because Arte and I were both getting really hungry, and also my phone was dying. It was running low on battery, so we went to the food court, and unfortunately, I don't know who won that tournament. I'm gonna assume that it was the Panda player, just for my own peace of mind, I guess. But we went to the food court and got food there again, and then we went back to her hotel room and hung out there for a while. Yeah, that's smart. I do have a charger with me. I did carry a charger with me. It's just there wasn't really a free one in the arcade, you know what I mean? But yeah, we hung out in her room for a while, like watching silly YouTube videos, and she had brought a fursuit head that she was working on, and it wasn't finished, but like it was like maybe 3/4 of the way there. It was finished enough to be wearable, and I asked to try it on, and she was like, sure, I guess. So I got to try on a fursuit head for the first time, which was cool, but also like, holy shit, you cannot see out of those things. I don't know if any of you out there have ever worn a fursuit head before, but they have like zero peripheral vision. Like absolutely none. If something isn't directly in front of you, it might as well not exist. Where was I? Right, hanging out in Arte's hotel room. So after a while, I did leave because I wanted to go to the Moonlight Festival that night, and I had heard the line was pretty long. It was pretty long, so I wanted to make sure I made it in time. I haven't talked about this yet, but this year FWA did something called a digital queue, where and they only did it for like a few things. It wasn't for every single panel or event. It was mostly for the bigger things like the Artist Alley and the Moonlight Festival, things like that. Where you follow the link online and like you sign up and get a place ahead of time essentially. And like doing that gets you a QR code that you show to the people when you show up at the thing. And I'm not against this whole system in principle. I'm sure it works just fine, but also I feel like maybe they should have told people about this a little sooner than like literally 2 or 3 days before the con was happening. I don't know, maybe it took longer for them to set up than they were anticipating, but like I don't think anybody appreciated like the super last minute notice about that. I'm not coming on here to like get people to rally against the system, but like a little bit of forewarning would have been nice. Okay, so anyway, so I got in line for the Moonlight Festival, and I got there okay. I think the wait this year was about as long as it was last year, which was like, I don't remember exactly. It was kind of hot, and I was kind of focused on like getting there on time, but eventually I got there on time, and it was nice. And I'm not gonna go like super into detail on the thing because it's like an adults only sort of event, and it's a rave essentially, where perhaps not fully safe for work. Perhaps maybe kink adjacent outfits are allowed and encouraged. I'm doing my best to dance around explicit terminology here. You can't be like, you can't show up to the function naked, but otherwise, you know, wear whatever you want. And some people were definitely flaunting that rule a little bit. I did see a few people straight up. Oh, hold on, there's a cutscene happening. So yeah, not super going into detail about the Moonlight Festival due to the nature of it. Not obviously not that I think that's a bad thing, but I'm trying to be careful because of the platforms that I choose to be on. But I had a great time there. I hung out for a couple hours. I wanted to stay for the whole thing, but I didn't want to push my luck with regards to my foot injury, and also carrying my bag around was annoying. But it was great. I had a good time. Somebody came up to me and told me that I was, quote, absolutely gorgeous, end quote, and that was nice. And also I had 2 separate people walk up to me and tell me that they loved my outfit, which was also incredibly validating, so that felt nice. The reason why I love the Moonlight Festival, holy shit, that's a lot of damage. So the reason I love the Moonlight Festival so much is because it, like, I don't really have access to anything like that at home where I live. Like, when I'm there, that's like basically the only chance I have probably pretty much all year to like be as loud as I possibly want. And I mean that metaphorically and literally. Like, I can just walk around and be fully myself without like fear of like persecution or ridicule or anything like that. It's just nice to have an atmosphere of like complete queer acceptance. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to have that, and I don't really have access to a lot of that in my day-to-day life. So I gotta take my wins where I can. But yeah, it was really nice to hang out there for a while. But eventually I did have to get back to my motel room and, you know, recharge for the night. Before I end my Saturday So I'm really embarrassed about this, but while I was hanging out in Arte's room before the Moonlight Festival, something got into my bag somehow without my realizing it. And while I was at the festival, I was sitting down to get a drink of water, and I found this blue, rounded, like, triangular thing in my bag. I was like, what the hell is this? I didn't know what it was, so I put it back. And as I was like leaving and like changing in the bathroom, Arte messages me like, hey, my friend is missing his retainer case. Do you know where it is? And I suddenly knew exactly what it was that was in my bag. So I got changed like extremely quickly, and I got back to their hotel room as soon as I could, and that's how I met this person. That's how I met Arte and Bawleon's friend Bomba. He's a very sweet man. He's a rat, and I should clarify. Like, Bawleon is like a dog, and Arte is a fox/bird, depending on what she's in the mood for. But that's how I met this person. Was returning his retainer case to him after I had accidentally stolen it. So, not the best first impression, but he was very nice and understanding. He wasn't like mad at me, which good. But oh my god, I'm still embarrassed about that. I don't know how it got into my bag, I swear. Maybe it like, I don't know, I was like resting it on the floor. Maybe it got like knocked off the end table somehow. I don't know. I'm so embarrassed about it still. I swear I didn't do it on purpose. I hope that testimony stands up in court. Anyway. So that was the end of my night, was having a good time at a rave and then returning somebody's stolen item that I had yanked on accident, because I am incredibly smart. Anyway, that's the end of Saturday, basically. Compared to the rest of the week, Sunday was like very chill in comparison, and that wasn't entirely unexpected, I guess. Usually based on past experience I've had, the final days of the past 2 conventions I've been to were also pretty chill, so like, it's not unprecedented, you know? But after I basically went straight to the con that day and like got breakfast and just sat around for a while and oh god damn it, don't status affect me. I just like chilled at the con for a while and then I went to eventually I went to the dealer's den and scoped out something, you know, looked around the place. I always like looking around the dealer's den just to see all the cool shit that people have for sale, you know, even if I don't end up getting a lot. And I didn't get a lot because having to buy a new battery for my car kind of ate into my budget for obvious reasons. But I did get a few stickers from an artist called Katie Lipscomb. I got a barn owl and a dragon and a phoenix. It was a 3 for $10 sort of deal. So I did get a few souvenirs from the convention at least. And I wanted to check out the artist alley too, but I didn't get a chance to, sadly. My phone was dying again, and by the time I was done charging it, it was about time for me to go to the fursuit dance competition so I could watch that. And I did watch that, and it was awesome. God, it was so cool. It's funny. Like, most of the time, I don't really feel the need for a fursuit. Like, they're cool, but they're also very expensive, and even if they weren't, I don't really, like, necessarily feel the desire for one. But I don't know what it is. Watching the fursuit dance competition makes me want a fursuit. It was really cool. I don't remember the name of the group who won the group category, but the winner of the single category was this person in a goat fursuit called Goat Mom. They did like insanely good like robot dances. It was unreal how precise their movements were. I don't have many pictures or any videos of that, sadly, because I wasn't sitting in a good spot for it. And where the absolute piss am I? After that was over, I went back to the arcade because my intention was to watch a Street Fighter 6 tournament that was happening, but I apparently already missed it because they were playing Mario Kart 8 instead, and I wasn't terribly... Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Anyway, so instead of watching Mario Kart 8, I went and met my friend Karma at the food court. He's an Umbreon, and he's really cool. We missed the chance to see each other at MFF last year, and I wasn't about to miss that again. So we just like hung out at the food court and talked for a long time, like about our lives and about, you know, the convention and about our plans for the future and stuff. And then we walked back to the Airbnb that he was staying at and hung out for a couple hours more, and like some of his friends came by and we all like showed off the swag that we had gotten at the convention, and it was just a nice time chilling with friends for a while. It was a good like low-key way to spend the last day, you know. But yeah, eventually I had to go because like Karma and his Airbnb roommate, they had to clean out the apartment before they left tomorrow morning, and you know, I wanted to go hang out with Arte and Bawleon some more, so like I went back to their hotel room and we hung out for a little while and we watched dumb YouTube videos and ate a pizza, and that was pretty much the end of my Sunday. That was very, very chill and low key, and I appreciated that after the relative chaos of the rest of the con. God, I tell you, I wasn't expecting having to deal with my battery crapping out on me first thing. That was not my idea of a good time. But overall, I had Isolated Guild. What's this? Overall, I had a really good time at FWA, and I'm glad I went. And you know, I'm sad. You know that scene in Kingdom Hearts 2 where like Sora, Donald, and Goofy are on the train heading out of Twilight Town, and Sora's looking out the window all wistfully, and he turns to them and he's like, you know, I'm sad. It's like, that's me. So FWA was kind of a roller coaster this year, having to deal with like car problems and shit. But overall, I had a great time, and I'm sad. I'm sad that I'm back home now, and I'm probably not gonna be able to go to any more cons this year because of money issues. As I was saying earlier, I don't really get the chance to fully be myself in public most of the time in my life. Like, I don't pass, and I also live in a state that is pretty unfriendly to queer people in general, to be as non-doxy about myself as possible. But like at a furry convention, I don't have to worry about any of that shit. I can fully be myself without fear of judgment or ridicule or persecution. And speaking about that, I forgot to even say this, but while I was at the con on Saturday and also on Sunday, for the first time, I dressed up in a skirt and a pair of leggings, And I also had my arm warmers on because those were cute. And I wore all that out in public, and nobody was batting an eye or even like sparing me a second glance, and that felt really nice. To just, you know, be more visibly feminine in a space that was welcoming for that, you know? And it sucks that I gotta bottle all that shit up now that I'm back home. I don't like that. Not a fan. But I do gotta stay where I am for the foreseeable future, both because of money concerns and because of, like, you know, boring adult responsibility concerns. But I'm trying not to dwell on the negative aspects. I'm trying to focus on the positive aspects, you know? Like, I had that for a while and it was nice. But yeah, that was FWA 2025, I guess. Bit of a roller coaster, but overall pretty good. Thank you for dying, and thank y'all for listening. I appreciate it. I'm glad I had people to listen this time, because I don't think anybody tuned in for my my recap last year. Exactly. I just want to be a gay animal. Is that too much to ask?